16, Julia Bongi.
Number 8, trophée numéro 15.
Batting 8 and playing first base, number 15, Elisa Cicchetti.
Au deuxième rang, sur le centre, numéro 27.
Batting 9 and playing center field, number 27, Julia Kotsionopoulos.
En position flex, lanceur numéro 24.
And the pitcher, number 24, Christina Bungalo.
Les substituts, numéro 3.
The substitutions, number 3, Alessandro Rotondo.
Numéro 4.
Number 4, Fabrizio Marone.
Numéro 10.
Number 10, Anita Bartoli.
Numéro 5.
Number 5, Alexia Lacadena.
Numéro 16.
Number 16, Alice Cipollini.
Numéro 7.
And number 7, Marta Cacchiamani.
L'équipe de l'Italie.
Team Italy.
Voici la formation partante de l'équipe locale pour ce match. L'équipe du Japon en première, sur le centre, numéro 26.
And now today starting batting order 14, Japan, batting first and playing center field, number 26, Nakagawa Ayane.
En deuxième, dans les cours, numéro 5.
Batting second, the shortstop, number 5, Ishikawa Kyoko.
Au troisième rang, jouant au deuxième but, numéro 16.
Batting third, playing second base, number 16, Kudo Kata.
Avant le quatrième, jouant rouge, numéro 19.
Batting fourth and playing left field, number 19, Tsugono Hotaru.
Cinquième rang, jouant au troisième but, numéro 15.
Batting fifth, playing third base, number 15, Kawabata Hitomi.
Avant sixième, jouant au premier but, numéro 17.
Batting sixth, playing first base, number 17, Haniko Fiori.
Au septième rang, joueuse désignée, numéro 6.
Batting seventh, the designated player, number 6, Nakabizo Yui.
Avant huitième, sur droite, numéro 18.
Batting eighth, the right fielder, number 18, Kawamura Risa.
Avant neuvième, receveur, numéro 14.
Batting ninth, the catcher, number 14, Kibishi Yube.
En position flex, lanceur, numéro 23.
And in the flex position, the pitcher, number 23, Miwa Sakura.
Substitut, numéro 13.
The substitutions for Japan, number 13, Goto Miyu.
Numéro 21.
Number 21, Ueno Yukiko.
Numéro 22.
Number 22, Tatsuma Isaki.
Numéro 24.
Number 24, Tatsuma Haruka.
Numéro 25.
Number 25, Sumitani Haruka.
Numéro 7.
And number 7, Harana Norika.
L'équipe du Japon.
Team Japan.
Les arbitres pour ce match au premier but.
Your umpires for today's matchup, first base umpire, Randy Homer.
Au deuxième but.
Second base umpire, Nicola Lucia.
Au troisième but.
Third base umpire, Mike Senja.
Et au marbre.
And the play umpire, Michael Elkins.
Mesdames et messieurs, veuillez vous lever si vous en êtes capable de retirer chapeaux et casquettes pour l'interprétation des hymnes nationaux de l'Italie et du Japon.
And now some of all things at this time, we ask that you please rise to do our land. Please remove all caps for the playing of the national anthems of Italy and Japan.
chance aux deux équipes et on match.
And now, without any further ado, let's play ball.
Good morning, everyone. It is playoff time at the 2023 Canada Cup. And we begin with a matchup of 7-0 Japan against Team Italy, who earned the 4th position in the standings, which brings with it a start in the playoffs in what I will refer to as the winner's bracket. If you finished in the top 4 as Japan, Italy, along with Canada and Triple Crown Colorado, it means you have 2 lives. If you finish between 5 and 8, you are in single elimination starting today. And Japan, who has outscored their opponents in this event 60-3 after knocking off Canada in a game that did not represent the final score, 8-1. They take on Italy. Italy wound up the round robin as we get a look at the Japanese batting lineup. An amazing end to the round robin into the morning, in fact, by the time it was all said and done. A 9-inning, 7-6 win over Mexico in a must-win situation in order to put them in the top half, or I will call it the right half, of the bracket. My name is Peter Loubardias, as has been the case all week long, along with longtime national team member and shortstop with Team Italy, Amanda Fama. And Amanda, I will never forget yesterday as we check in, and there are umpires that will work this morning's first playoff game. That was some final day for so many reasons, including the final game of the round robin where Italy just would not go away and found a way against Mexico.
Yeah, Peter, both teams did a great job, and props to Mexico. They were the underdog there, and they came out scoring quick. But again, Italy has a lot of Olympic returning veteran athletes like Marta Gasparotto here, and they came back, and you can never count them out, even if they're playing a team like Japan, like we see starting right now.
And a great change from their starting pitcher, working again. She has pitched 16 2/3. Her name is Sakura Miwa, and started last night against Canada. Did give up 7 hits in the game and was in a lot of trouble. Canada stranded 8 base runners, and all of their stranded runners occurred in the first 4 innings when she was working. She has already faced Team Italy. In fact, these teams met on July 10th, opening day, with Japan beating Italy by a count of 8-0. And she went 6 innings in that game, gave up only 4 hits, no runs, and works to Gasparotto, who had a huge hit in the game last night. They were down 5-3 going to the bottom of the 7th, and Marta Gasparotto tied it with a single up the middle.
I think we've seen Team Italy kind of struggle with their schedule that they had. That's not really coming alive, but they're starting to come alive now at the right moment. And I think a key here, knowing Italy's offense a little bit, they're going to have to really shorten up and just put the ball in play like that and make contact and force Japan to do typical Japan things and be awesome on defense.
Shortstop, Kyoko Ishikawa takes care of Marta Gasparotto, and the batter is Laura Vigna, who has become more prominent as this tournament has gone on. A long-time member, Olympian, one of the 12 that Amanda has talked about on this veteran Italian team. But again, the one great separator is pitching. And Japan, by far and away, brings the best staff. And we have barely even seen their top two pitchers. The all-time great, Yukiko Ueno, has only pitched a couple of innings. And hope to see her before the weekend is over. And the other is 22-year-old sensation Miyu Gato as they pitch Japan to the Summer Olympic gold medal 2 summers ago. But we have seen a pretty steady diet here of Sakura Miwa and Misaki Katsumata, who came on and was very impressive in the last 3 innings, or last 2 innings, against Canada last night. And these teams will also play again in about 10 days because Japan, Italy, and Canada will all participate in the third of 3 World Cup stage qualifiers in Butrios, Italy, which will also be the site of next year's actual World Championship, now known as the World Cup.
And we've kind of talked about and gone back and forth on and off the air if that plays a strategy and why we haven't seen Ueno yet. I know we're all looking forward to watching one of the best pitch, but are these 3 teams playing a little bit of strategy when they face each other? Because this is a great tournament and everyone wants to win, but Butrio and the qualifier for the World Cup is more important. So it's interesting, would be interesting to hear if there's a strategy behind who they pitch each time.
And there without question is. Always have to be careful pitching to Erica Piancastelli in the number 3 spot in the lineup. Erica, so far in this tournament, is 4 for 14. She has 2 home runs and 6 runs batted in. Collegiately was a star at McNeese State. Been a big part of this Italian program now for a number of years. Another Olympian. And I would suggest has had an up and down Canada Cup. But Italy will be heard from if she absolutely gets red hot. And is there anyone more capable on this team of doing that?
I think Erica is the best person. Obviously, she has probably the best bat in this lineup and plays in the Japan League, so has seen these pitchers more often than the rest of the Italy roster, and that's going to give her a heads up. And you can see Erica doing a great job being patient and very disciplined. Like you said, she's had an up and down Canada Cup, which is rare for Piancastelli, but she was very disciplined, and that's a great job from our former captain. Again, that role getting taken over by Giulia Longhi just because Erica took a step away to pursue some time in Japan. And so that's a great job with Erica.
She played for SGH Galaxy this past year in the Japanese Pro League. It's now referred to as the Japanese Diamond League. And here is someone who has not struggled at the Canada Cup, the designated player, star at San Diego State University, Mackenzie Barbara, who had 3 more runs batted in last night, including a solo shot with 2 out in the 8th inning to keep that game alive. On the ground, Kanakudo, and it's a walk and no runs for Italy against the favorite to win it all here, and they've showed it in the round robin, Japan. It's day 1 of the playoffs, and we're going to have some great softball all day long here at the Canada Cup. Japan to bat in the bottom of the first in this winner's bracket, or the Canadian way. An A-side semifinal, as we used to refer to it. To explain, the top 4 teams will open the playoffs today. They have 2 lives. Teams that finish 5 through 8 in the round robin are in single elimination. So if you think about it visually, there's 4 teams on the top bracket and 4 teams on the bottom. And then it constructs itself or deconstructs itself on the road. So these 2 teams trying to move to within 1 win of the title game tomorrow at 6 o'clock here at Softball City. And the leadoff batter, she did not play against Canada last night, is 24-year-old Ayane Nakagawa, who plays, as they all do, in the Japanese Professional League for Shining Vega, facing the starter, Christina Toniolo, who also started the game last night. Or Toniolo was the pitcher versus Australia. And she has a very difficult chore trying to hold this group off, who has a tendency in games to chip away on the ground. Filler has to hurry and does retire the speedy today at shortstop, Kyoko Ishikawa, without number 2. And Filler ranging nicely. And there are 2 away. Second base player, Kanekudo. She plays for Bic Camera, one of the powerhouses. And I wonder last night on the Minori Naito home run that helped seal the deal against Canada, I saw a lot of camera in that for Japanese teams, more excessive than normal. Well, guess who Minori Naito plays for? Bic Camera. Because they were all, you remember, lined up doing that. So I'm going to guess that might have been the significance. Kanekudo having a terrific Canada Cup. She's 8 for 17. 2 home runs, and she leads Japan and runs batted in with 10. And this is well hit, and it's going to get over the head of Piancastelli. She has a great throwing arm, but another base hit and an extra base hit for Kanekudo.
Yeah, Japan just has that power without even swinging hard, and that's what makes them unstoppable sometimes and still hard to figure out. But she places that close to the fence over Erica's head and puts herself in scoring position here.
As Japan looks to strike first against Christina Toniolo. She is from Crystal Lake, Illinois, pitched at the University of Illinois, Chicago. And she had no shortage of reps. Hoturo Sakamoto. When she gets hits, they generally drive in runs. Her second home run of the Canada Cup. And it's 2-0 Japan on the drive to center by Hoturo Sakamoto.
And this ball's left right in the middle. And when you leave a ball like that at this level, it's going to go nowhere but over the fence. And again, we've talked about how this can be learning experiences for pitchers and players, young players. Christina being in her mid-20s, but still new to the elite level of international play. And she's still working through that, we've seen in this tournament. And this is a great learning opportunity. She has to remember who she's playing, and she's got to place that ball a little bit better. And that was a good pitch. She's having a good kind of pitch sequence here after a home run, and that's something that pitchers have to learn as well coming back. Placing it nicely on the corner.
Yeah, this is fouled by Kawabata. Hitomi playing over at third. What I find interesting about the way Reika Utsugi sets up her lineup is around the diamond. This is exactly how she played against Italy in the first game. Everywhere. Left, center, right, behind the plate, around the diamond. The batting order is different, and Tsukamoto, who just homered, and now has 2 home runs, 9 runs batted in. When she gets a hit, it drives in a runner. She's done it 4 different times. Up the middle, and that's another base hit for Kawabata. And Japan in this first playoff game showing why they are a true softball powerhouse and have outscored their opponents with 2 more runs here, 62-3. And this is a world-class competition. Make no mistake. Canada, Italy, Triple Crown, Colorado, a group of collegiate all-stars, and in many cases will become U.S. national team members in the future. So those teams, and they're all in the top 4 after the round robin, which is not a surprise. Surprising in some cases how it arrived at that point. But there has been no answer, with one exception. And Canada really did push Japan last night. The score doesn't indicate it, but through 4 innings, Canada was out-hitting Japan. They trailed 3-1 and had left 8 runners on base. They made 3 outs at home. And we'll see how Kaylee Rafter's Team Canada takes that game, a game where they also did not throw any of their top 3 pitchers against Japan and still did an excellent job. And Minori Naito draws a walk, and Toniolo, nothing like experience, and she's experiencing this Japanese lineup that's off to a great start. Runners at first and second now after the walk to Minori Naito. And the batter is designated player today, Wee Nakamizo. Nakamizo was at shortstop against Canada last night.
And I like that you mentioned how Utsugi is having the same defensive lineup facing Italy both of these times. No doubt is this a scouting opportunity for them. Again, this is Japan, the elite of the elite, but they'll scout every chance they get, and maybe having a set defensive lineup roster here and taking that over into the World Cup so they can kind of save their ace players maybe, or switch people around. But yeah, that's kind of what I see Japan doing here, and really hustling down the line as Eliza Cicchetti at first makes a great diving play at first.
But not in time, as base hit number 4 of the inning belongs to Nakamiso. And now stepping in is the right fielder, Arisa Kawamura. Bases are loaded. As Japan a chance to really take over with another hit here. And just delivered it. Did Kawamura throw home? Not in time. And a 2-run single off the bat of Risa Kawamura has Japan in front of Italy by a count of 4-0. And even in the game against Mexico last night, where they needed 2 extra innings to beat Mexico 7-6, Italy gave up 4 runs in Mexico's first at-bat.
Yeah, it's tough in the first inning to get runs scored off you and be able to come back. And they did well with that last night, poking away. But when you play a team like Japan, you really got to hold them like we saw Canada do. Again, this is a great learning opportunity for Christina. It's Japan, and I don't think she's ever faced them before this tournament, and newer to the international play, and working on herself. As I know, every pitcher wants to get better and better, and whether that's getting new pitches, seeing 3 pitches from Christina here, a drop, a change, and a fastball. I'm not sure if she has anything else, and that's something that she's probably going to look into, seeing that having a variety of different pitches can really help you excel at this level.
Yume Karishi is the catcher for Japan as they've batted around in the bottom of the first. 5 hits, 4 runs. And if you happen to be watching this, and we welcome you wherever you are tuning in on the live stream. We even had some friends from Japan chime in last night on my Twitter feed. And thank you for doing so, I might add. If you're in the area and have a chance this weekend to come watch Japan play, if you like this sport, it's a must. It just absolutely is. And they have not been at this event first and third, and they have the runner caught up in a rundown. They'll get the out, but Japan adds another run. 5-0 Japan as we begin the winner's bracket of the playoffs on a beautiful Saturday morning at Softball City. Team Japan being Team Japan as we begin the playoffs at this marvelous facility. It's one of the best in the world. It's that simple. For this sport, 4 diamonds, incredible setting, a hotbed for the game, especially the women's game here in Surrey, White Rock. The White Rock Renegades have been a stellar program, have produced so many Team Canada players over the last 10 years or so in particular. And the committee, President Greg Tim, the crowds have been excellent. The softball has been a treat. And it just keeps getting better and better, and hope it will continue to in the future, and I know it will. And we think we're going to provide some great coverage and great games for you before tomorrow evening comes to a conclusion with a championship final at 6 o'clock. As Andrea Filler, she had a key 2-run single last night in the game. She's 30 years of age. She's from Indiana and was a great college player in her time at the University of Northwestern, facing Sakura Miwa. Off the glove of Ishikawa. And Italy, courtesy of Andrea Filler, has its first hit of the playoffs.
Yeah, just out of reach for number 5. Leadoff runner gets on, and that's key, as we've seen throughout this tournament.
On the ground from shortstop Melanie Sheldon, who was hurt against Japan on a tag play at second base on Monday and did not reappear. Amanda Fama's replacement at shortstop, the longtime shortstop, is Melanie Sheldon until yesterday. So she played in both games, both wins. On the ground, handcuffs Kawabata and still manages to recover to get the force at second.
And that's athleticism. You see her backing up to try and get a good angle to throw to second. Unfortunately, trips, which happens to all of us, but still able to make a play and get that ball out of her glove. And that's a great job finishing the play, even when you kind of trip over yourself there.
Captain Julia Longi. Hands up the bat. Thought about a bunt.
Which is a good idea here, because Miwa keeps throwing this changeup or this drop ball that is breaking a couple feet in front of the box. And I'm noticing my former teammates kind of in mid back of the box, so they're not able to square up that pitch because it's dropping and they're out in front. So I'd like to see an adjustment from Italy, maybe scoot up knowing that that ball is dropping. I know they've scouted her, and we see Julia here scoot up even a little bit. So a bunt is a good idea, and try and catch him off guard, or scoot up so you can really hit that drop ball changeup square on the barrel of the bat.
And this game is all about adjustments. Even between pitches, whether it's offensively, defensively, there's a lot that goes into it. That was a change. Long run. Oturo Tsukamoto, who homered in the bottom of the first, now makes a great running catch in foul territory.
Yeah, Julia's timing was there, just under it. I think she's going to have a good rest of the game, though.
Elisa Cicchetti over at first today. Sees a lot of time behind home plate.
I wish we had the pitch track, like just already in my eyes where it can track how these balls break.
After the show, as Amanda is so generous with her time and has done such a great job in her first experience behind the mic, I will at some point give you a little indication of what the equipment costs in order to provide what you see on major network television to have the pitch tracker.
That's why I said I wish. I mean, I can see it from up here. It's incredible. And you can see it when you're up to bat, and then she throws you 2 changeups, and you're out in front like Elisa Cicchetti just struck out swinging, and it's tough. You don't need the equipment to see how incredible these pitchers can place a ball and spin it.
Well, and the spin rate,
Oh.
which is talked about a lot in the major leagues of baseball, it might be even more important and impressive and necessary in this sport. It's 5-0 Japan on day one of the playoffs at the Canada Cup. Japan off to a great beginning. A little different today, not in all of their games, but they have come out with a vengeance. And I think the one thing we should point out, Amanda, is there's no chance Italy and their players would have been in bed or even close to being ready to sleep until about 2 a.m. Their game last night, and it was a very emotional game as catcher Yume Karishi flies out to left to start the bottom of the second. It's a tough turnaround, and it's not for me as much about, yes, the time, but it wasn't like their game against Australia where, you know, these tournaments, and you guys are used to it, and I say you guys because you played in them. I did not. You're used to delays and things getting a little backed up and tight turnarounds, but that was a very emotional win for Italy. And so to be back at it again, you know, and they didn't wake up at 9:15 and get ready for this game today. So that, for me, is much, and maybe that has no pertinence. What do you think when you hear me talk about that?
Well, first I want to say about how emotional that game was. That was a huge game for Italy in a lot of ways. They have 11, 12 returners, Olympians, and that's majority of the team. And so last night I think we saw them get down on themselves but become a team at the end, and that's why it was so emotional. And I could feel it up here, being close to these girls. And so getting home late, and I'm sure they woke up at 6 o'clock to get ready for this. You know, you're still pumped from that game last night. And I think what's difficult is you have this early game, which is fine.
On the ground, Sheldon, tough play, and just gets Japanese leadoff hitter Ayani Nakagawa at first without number 2.
And that's a good job from Sheldon. Has to go down with that ball with her glove, but able to get up and throw a strike. But again, like, these girls are professional athletes. They are, and that's what they do. So they've kind of gotten in this rhythm. It's hard on sleep, of course, but the thing that I think about the most is having such adrenaline in last night's game against Mexico. Okay, a little bit of lack of sleep, but now you're up early playing Japan, where you know you're probably not going to come out on top, but you have a big game tonight at 8:30. So that's what I'm kind of curious about, is that's when they're going to get tired. They might be able to go back to the hotel and sleep and nap a little bit, but it is tough on a lack of sleep no matter what, coming out and competing against Japan of all people.
Well, it was a great game last night. They trailed at 4-0 after the top of the first. Italy did against Mexico in a showdown to be starting these playoffs in the winners bracket. 4-2 after one. Ketchumani was great coming in relief. It's a tough beginning for Alexia Lakatina. Lindsay Lopez, standout at the University of Washington, had an excellent game, and it was 5-3. Mexico to the bottom of the seventh. Italy tied it. In fact, they had the third out thrown out on a sacrifice fly attempt that could have ended the game in the bottom of the seventh. On the ground, Longy handcuffed. That's a very difficult play, is Kyoko Ishikawa. And Longy, given the error on the ground ball.
That is extremely tough, especially the spin off a left-handed hitter. Panda or Julia Longy at third has an incredible backhand. Was playing close to the line. Unfortunately, just couldn't get around and get down to grab that one.
And to finish that story, then Mexico scored in the top of the eighth. Italy made a running mistake. Ended up with an interesting fly out to right, where the right fielder for Mexico made an incredible catch. And then they relayed it, and they threw out Laura Vigna trying to go from second to third, because you start a runner at second. That's part of the tiebreaker, and good work by Toniolo. Mackenzie Barbara tied it with a solo shot to deep center, and then they ended up winning it in the bottom of the ninth. But they are facing the juggernaut Japanese and trail 5-0 after two. As the playoffs are underway in beautiful softball city. A pitching change as Sakura Miwa gives way to Misaki Katsumata. And Katsumata, very impressive in relief last night against Canada. Also replacing Sakura Miwa, and had two stellar innings after Canada. I referred to Miwa as Houdini, as she was able to escape out of all kinds of trouble in that game, as Japan against 17-year-old youngster Ruby Anderson ended up with 5 in the bottom of the sixth to win the game 8-1. It was a great game. The last two games of day number 5, the final 2 of the round robin were special games for different reasons, but terrific softball as Kutsoyanopoulos greets Katsumata with a leadoff base hit to start the third. Kutsoyanopoulos, a star player at the University of Tennessee. Marta Gasparotto grounded out to shortstop Ishikawa to lead the game off. And we spoke about it in regards to spin, movement, location. Isn't that what pitching really is all about?
It is, and that's what makes it so amazing and difficult, but that's what sets the elite apart from everyone else is how well can you spin the ball. And when you spin the ball, when you have a tight spin, it's more deceiving for hitters to track that ball, and it makes the ball curve or drop or rise. And like we've said a couple times, when your eyesight changes as a hitter, that's what makes those pitches difficult. They look like you can hit them into the trees, and they end up jumping up 2 feet. And so that's exactly what pitching is. And when you can really perfect that, like we've seen a lot of pitchers do, it does incredible things, and it's really efficient and effective.
Katsumata is 24, pitched a couple of innings in a silver medal-winning performance at last summer's World Games in Birmingham, where Japan lost to the United States in the final. The two powerhouses also met in August last summer in a 3-game set of the two countries. Not a complete national team for the United States. Kind of an in-between group. But Japan won that 3-game set, 2-1. And Japan, after losing the round-robin game to the United States, won the big one. They won the gold medal. And the last 2 times this sport has been an Olympic competition, 2008, and they had to wait all the way to 2021 and COVID, which Amanda participated in with Team Italy, as Vigna had a really good cut at the Katsumata pitch. Japan won again, so they're the 2-time reigning Olympic champions. And those of us who love this sport are so hoping it is back in the Olympic program to stay in 2028. And it should get some real quality billing, because if I'm not mistaken, the 2032, which is astounding that I'm talking about 2028 and 2032, is in Australia.
Yeah, that's a long ways away, and I can talk for hours of how I wish it's back in 2028 and hopeful for it, because it deserves to be. It's, especially in the United States, it's one of the most watched sports, even up against men's sports. And so it's definitely something that is deserving, and I'm proud to be part of the generation that has helped it grow, and I'm excited to see what the future holds. And whether it's 28 or 32, it absolutely should be there.
The batter is Erica Piancastelli. She certainly helped this sport grow internationally in the United States with Athletes Unlimited, which again just grows the profile. A steal attempt, and you could not walk down and hand it to the receiver better than the catcher, Yume Kurishi, threw an absolute strike to gun down Julia Kutsoyanopoulos. Japan leading 5-0, coming to bat in the bottom of the third. It's playoff time at the Canada Cup. Japan in front by a count of 5-0. Scored all 5 in the bottom of the first, including this woman's 2-run home run. Hoturo Tsukamoto, and also made a nice running catch in foul territory in the next half inning. Tsukamoto, 6 for 13, 2 home runs, and 9 runs batted in. So when she gets a hit, it usually brings somebody around. And as a result, she's in the number 4 spot in the lineup today. We have not seen her there before. She's generally been in that 6, 7 area in Japan's lineup. The Japan coaching staff involves 2 all-time greats in Yu Yamamoto and someone I remember fondly going all the way back to 2002, Eri Yamada, as they have just wrapped up their careers with a gold medal around their respective necks.
Not a bad way.
It's okay. Off the glove of Toniolo. Sheldon for out number 1. Good concentration by Melanie Sheldon.
And great athleticism. She's taking a different angle once that ball's hit, adjusts to it deflecting off the pitcher's glove, which happens so often with Team Italy. And quick transfer, and that was a great job by Melanie Sheldon at shortstop.
Hitomi Kawabata, part of the 4-run, 5-hit attack for Japan in the bottom half of the first inning. She's playing at third. And just another Japanese hit where, is it a hard swing? No.
They just poke it, and it's always something that's so hard to defend is they hit the ball where it's pitched. That's given. But as a pitcher, I mean, I don't pitch, and I don't understand it from a pitcher's perspective, but that's why they're so successful. They just place the ball. They can very well hit it over the fence, hit it out of the park. But they play the game so simple sometimes, and that's discipline. And the Japanese softball team has great discipline in it. You see that in the success that they have.
I love that word. Work ethic, habits, discipline. Forget about women's softball. the older I get, the more I appreciate all of that. On the run is Piancastelli. Kawabata tagged and threatened, and she, I guarantee you, knows the strength of the arm of the right fielder, Piancastelli.
Again, more of that swing to contact type of swing, and goes 15, 20 feet from the fence. Erica tracks it down and, again, beams it in. Everyone knows not to run on Piancastelli's arm.
Wee Nakamizu singled and scored in the bottom of the fifth. A relative newcomer is Wee Nakamizu. The only international numbers I could find on her in preparation for the event came in the USA-Japan series last August, where she had a hit. And she has more than one in this event. She has 8 now. Kawabata, by the way, 2 for 2 and up to 10 hits in the tournament. Japan entered the day with a collective team batting average of .406 and have now outscored their opponents 65-3. There are some times, and I know it's not the case, bats go through a fairly extensive process. At times I feel like their bats have a little more pop than maybe some others. Although, as you've pointed out to me, not every country has access to the best bats. And
Great
some
catch.
play by Erica Piancastelli. A marvelous running catch.
That was a great catch. More over the shoulder in foul territory. Erica, again, not the fastest runner, and I can say that because I'm close with her, but she does well getting to that ball, extending out and saving probably 2 runs there. Not a natural outfielder, but she's definitely come to hold down right field for Team Italy.
Robbing Nakamizu of at least another chance with a great catch in foul territory. We're through 3 on this beautiful Saturday in a lovely facility, as good as it gets, Softball City in South Surrey, British Columbia. Erica Piancastelli ended the last inning with a great running catch. High fly ball. Tsukamoto easily underneath it. And one pitch from Misaki Katsumata in her second inning of work. Taking over after inning number 2 from the starter, Sakura Miwa. Retires. Piancastelli was at the plate when Julia Kutsoyanopoulos was thrown out to end the last Italian at-bat in the third. The powerful Mackenzie Barbara. If you missed it earlier and have not seen it on any highlight, she hit a ball 3 days ago that cleared the right field tent. And it's headed there again on cue.
Wow.
You don't have to go back and see the other one. You just saw it again. A blast, her 5th home run of the Canada Cup for Mackenzie Barbara out of San Diego State University.
Yep, that ball's right in Barbara's wheelhouse. I mean, now's the time to kind of test your pitching up against her, and I guarantee you won't be seeing that pitch again. And if you do, they're going to perfect it to not let that happen again. But that was a great swing from Barbara.
Her 2nd mammoth blast over the tent on its way up here at Softball City. Wow.
And she can actually play in the under 22 for Team Italy, I believe, still. Dangerous.
Fifth home run, 11th run batted in for Mackenzie Barbara, who leads the tournament in home runs with 5. Andrea Filler has a base hit in the game. She had a couple of hits in last night's exciting, emotional round-robin finale to beat Mexico 7-6 in 9 innings. Went 2 extra, but strikes out as Katsumata comes right back, and that's her first strikeout of the day.
It's always tough to be that next hitter after a home run like that when you're facing Japan, because you know they're going to push a little bit further and prove that that's not going to happen again. And with a strikeout from Filler, we see that.
Melanie Sheldon, the shortstop, reached on a fielder's choice. Is Italy on the board thanks to the blast by Mackenzie Barbara. A Barbara blast. Home run number 5. And she tied last night's round-robin game in the 8th with a solo rocket to center when Italy was down to its last out against Mexico. And it would have been Mexico playing Japan this morning had she not driven that one out of here too. So she is making a real statement at the Canada Cup. And Italy is delighted to have her as a part of their program, not just now, but moving forward. Katsumata misses high. She shakes out her pitching hand. Canada and Triple Crown Colorado next in the winner's bracket, a game slated to begin at 1. Katsumata, how do you respond to something you don't like? Back-to-back strikeouts. Italy on a Barbara blast on the board in this first playoff game at Softball City. Risa Kawamura, as Japan's lead has been cut into on a Mackenzie Barbara. We talk about launch angle.
Well, if we also had hit tracking, I'm sure that's just as expensive, but launch angle.
Or exit velocity.
Yeah, that's going to be the one you want to see exit velocity on, and that was incredible. Both
Cicchetti
gets her. Yep, great play.
Diving to retire right fielder Risa Kawamura. As Christina Toniolo from Crystal Lake, Illinois, and the University of Illinois at Chicago continues to work. She had no shortage of appearances there. She started 27 of their games. And in a collegiate schedule, which is usually, how many would you say? 50, 60, depending on the program? So she would have started at least half or more. Her record was 5-22. So that's just the game she pitched in where she actually was a winner or on the wrong side of it. But her inning count was enormous at that school, where she was obviously their number one pitcher.
Well, that's why she's here with Team Italy. Like I said, I was lucky enough to have her be part of our training group in 2021 leading to the Olympics. And with the pitching staff we had, unfortunately, she wasn't able to make that with Greta Cicchetti and Ilaria Ketchamani, Alice Nicolini, and Alexia Lacatena that we have here. So I think that last year was good for her in college. She did well, successful, grew as an athlete, worked on her pitches, and now is here pitching with Team Italy at the Canada Cup. So it's good for her. It's good to personally see athletes grow and just get better. And, again, this is a great learning opportunity for her, facing some of the best hitters in the world.
Catcher, Yume Karishi, 0 for 1 today. She's 4 for 12 now in the Canada Cup. Thought about it, but disciplined enough to stay off that close pitch, and then she collides.
And she has an interesting stance. If she gets up again in this game, I'd like to point it out, because where her hands start traditionally aren't in a good spot, actually. So we'll check that out later in the game.
Ayani Nakagawa has 11 hits in the tournament. Vigna circles around it and records the second out of the bottom of the fourth. Japan struck often and early. They scored 5 times in the bottom of the first. Shortstop Kyoko Ishikawa reached on an error and grounded out to Andrea Filler, who made a fine play to prevent her from adding to her hit total in the bottom of the first inning. I love watching her play in the infield. Silky smooth, Kyoko Ishikawa. As Toniolo has done a nice job of settling in after having a tough first inning of work today. She gave up 5 hits, 4 runs. On the ground to Sheldon. Quick release and goes off the glove of Elisa Cicchetti over at first. And that's going to turn into the second Italian error of this playoff encounter.
And that's tough. Christina, like you said, is settling in. She had a great changeup right before this to keep the Japanese hitter off balance, and then comes back here and gets a ground ball, which is great. able to get an out. Melanie's throw from short is a little wide, and first baseman stretches a little early. And again, those errors, those simple things, little things that result in runners getting on, can't happen at this level because now you have Japan with 2 runners on in a dangerous situation and can just add more to the scoreboard.
And a dangerous hitter in Kanakuto, who's already doubled and scored today. Takes a strike. Throw back to third from Marta Gasparotto behind the plate. She's been in 3 different places defensively. Saw a lot of work at short when Melanie Sheldon went down really early in the tournament. Then we've seen her at third and behind the plate as that's off the knee, and it's going to be an out. And Hope Toniolo is okay. The Kanakuto drive off Toniolo's knee, and Sheldon stays with it. You don't see a lot of 1 to 6 in the air outs. We just did, to add to what's been a terrific Canada Cup. It remains 5-1 Japan. Japan goes through their ritual as the group in the infield turns around, faces the outfielder, and gives them a little salute as little Italian music in the background, or kind of. A North Americanized version. There's Team Italy's captain, Giulia Longhi. Flew out to Hoturo Sukamaru in left, her first at-bat in the second. There's a third straight inning for Masaki Katsumata. Longhi. No balls, 2 strikes from Katsumata. Misses upstairs, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Italy with 3 hits, Japan with 6, and exploded for 5 to take control early. Ranging over is Kawamura, and 1 away in the top of the 5th inning.
Now batting first base number 15, Lisa Cicchetti.
Cicchetti had a ball go off her glove. The good news, Amanda, in that inning is it did not end up, thanks to a, wonder if Christina Toniolo will be able to come out for the start of the next inning as Kanakudo rifled one off of her right knee. And Melanie Sheldon was able to, while in the air, get to the ball to end the Japanese fourth inning. Change up and a brilliant one. And use the phrase change up, but they are not all the same, are they?
They are not. There's so many different types of change-ups or off speeds or knuckleballs even, which a few Italian pitchers have, and it's incredible. It's anything to change up the speed or throw off a pitcher, throw off a hitter, and it's really incredible. Some can get into the 50s, or if you're throwing in the high 60s, then even something 3 miles an hour different can really mess with the hitter's timing. And that's the thing, is throwing off a timer's hitting, their step, the way they swing the bat, and it's really difficult, and it's impressive that pitchers can do that, all from the same release point at that.
And there's a perfect example. There is a lot of movement on that last pitch to Cicchetti, the change. It's like a change curve is the best way I can describe it.
And I wish I knew the mechanics behind it. I can never figure it out. I used to catch, I've caught bullpens a few times. I've stood in for pitchers. I've stood behind them. I think it's smart for hitters to do that so they can understand what pitchers are trying to do. And I've done it multiple times with Greta Cicchetti, and she gets annoyed because I cannot understand their wrist movements and how they get the ball to do that. It's incredible. And when they have the length of the 43 feet, they can get a lot of movement in, and we see that plenty of times and how difficult it is.
Well, Cicchetti just missed that change that was up in the zone a little bit that time from Katsumata, who has a couple of strikeouts. Did give up a long bomb to Mackenzie Barbara, who has supplied the only Team Italy run today. On the ground on a couple of hops. And Kudo stayed with it. And there are two away.
I like this swing. It's kind of one of those not full swings, which we've seen on both sides, but it's hit hard. And to hit a ball hard off Japan is difficult enough.
Julia Kutsoyanopoulos, who helped the University of Tennessee to the recently completed College World Series, which came to a close in early June in Oklahoma City. Tennessee put forward a fine performance. The University of Oklahoma Sooners winning that event for a third consecutive time. They beat Florida State 2-0 in the best-of-3 final under the guidance of, I believe, the highest-paid women's softball coach in Patty Gasso. Swinging on and missing, Kutsoyanopoulos.
And she's just under that ball. Again, we've talked about pitchers providing the power. When you have a pitcher with a little bit of speed, it's a little easier to get some distance on the ball, and she's able to put the bat on the ball this time and poke it in there.
She's 2 for 2 today, is Julia Kutsoyanopoulos. She was thrown out attempting to steal in the third on an incredible throw from catcher Yume Karishi. I always like to say the great throws you couldn't walk over and hand it to the covering shortstop any better than what she did on Kutsoyanopoulos' easy for me to say. Steal attempt. Now, down 4 runs. I don't think I personally would be sending anyone in this situation.
And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the type of player that Julia Coots, again, is what we call her because that last name is so difficult. I wonder if that was on her own, and I actually like it because there's 2 outs and you have Piancastelli up. And, you know, the chances of something happening are good with Piancastelli, but you also want to give her a fair chance when she has 2 strikes, 1 or 2 strikes. So I think if Coots did that on her own, it's a good heads-up steal. But, yeah, it's always tough in a situation when you're playing Japan.
Gasparotto goes down looking on a great change from Misaki Katsumata. 4.5 in the books. And a beautiful day at Softball City as the playoffs have arrived at the Canada Cup. Nice to see Christina Toniolo return for the bottom of the 5th after she took a line drive right off the top of the right knee, which actually ended up as an out when shortstop Melanie Sheldon caught the drive off the bat of outstanding second base player Kanakudo. Tsukamoto is the batter. Opened the scoring today with a 2-run homer, her second of the Canada Cup. Toniolo's change just misses outside. Japan also, I've come to learn, they also make the most of their hits. It was the case last night against Canada. They're only out-hitting Italy 6-4, but look at the scoreboard.
I know, I was just looking at that, and that was, like you said, the scenario last night. It's timely hittings, not necessarily out-hitting people by a lot, out-hitting their opponents by a lot like we've seen in the past. It's just those timely hittings and great base running. We saw a couple base running errors from Italy last night, could have cost them a game. And we see Japan, again, disciplined, running when they need to be, but playing it safe, and all those plays at home last night for Team Canada. But, yeah, they're not necessarily blowing teams out of the water with their hits.
Sheldon. Another base hit for Hoturo Tsukamoto, who is really heating up. And when she is the Japan poster woman for making the most of your hits. This is a rare hit for her. Almost every other one she's had in the tournament has driven in runs. She has been the most opportunistic of all the Japanese hitters. And if I was able to track down, which isn't always easy to do, I'd be interested in how many runners they've left on base this week. When you've scored 65 times in this now their 8th game, and even in watching so many of their games and calling them, they don't seem to leave a lot of runners on base. I mean, the difference in their game last night to close out the round robin against Canada is they took full advantage of every opportunity that they had. And they also put a lot of pressure on teams. Longy, filler, double play. Perfectly executed.
Yep, those are those double play balls that you're hoping for as a hitter. You hate to kind of give that third baseman the opportunity to get a good, quick throw over there. And Italy turns that perfectly. Well done. Brava. But going back to leaving runners on in Japan, that's why playing them firsthand, if they get that runner on, the pressure intensifies because they're going to do something with it. It's not, hey, it's okay, we can go at this hitter or this. You know something's going to happen, and we see that time and time again. Runners left on, it's missed opportunities to score, and Japan does not do that very often.
And here's what I would think leads to even more pressure. They've given up 3 runs. So we can talk all we want, Amanda, about the 65. The pressure comes from knowing, I would suggest, you know you're not going to get very many. That, to me, defensively, would put you in a difficult mindset because chances are, if you get to 3 against Japan, you've had a really good game. There's Minori Naito, grounds out. Quality defensive inning. Tignolo induces a double play, and then another ground ball. Japan leading Italy as they move a little closer to advancing in the winner's bracket at the Canada Cup. This game moving along quite nicely. Japan leading 5-1 as the second pitcher of record, Misaki Katsumata, facing Laura Vigna. Tsukamoto, who's had a great day at the plate, records out number 1. Piancastelli, the batter. She's walked and flown out to Tsukamoto and left. so far today. And a little extra, what I like to call giddy up on that pitch from Katsumata. Came in the game in the top of the third, replacing the starter, Sakura Miwa. And the great Yukiko Ueno is warming up. Maybe just throwing another bullpen. I've seen that. Maybe she will get the start if they go on to win this game against the winner of Triple Crown Colorado and Canada. A large game in this Canada Cup coming your way next, slated for 1 o'clock.
What do you think about Ueno coming in to close out the 7th?
If she comes in so I can watch her for one hitter, I'll take that. Have not seen her perform in person since the 2002 World Championships in Saskatoon.
She's got to be pretty eager to get out there as well. I know I'm eager, but yeah, she's throwing some pitches out there.
Although she doesn't look like she's completely engaged. There's a lot of chatter going on. She might just be instructing who's ever catching her as much as anything else. And with all her different velocity and speed changes and different pitchers, that's an education in itself, I would think, as Bianca Stelli goes down. And there are quickly 2 out. Mackenzie Barbara launched one over the tent her last time up for her 5th home run of the Canada Cup. Katsumata has only given up 2 hits since she came into the game in the top of the 3rd inning. Misses down with the drop ball. 1 ball and 1 strike to Mackenzie Barbara.
And kind of going out here again, this could be a scouting opportunity. They throw her mid-in. She takes the ball over the tent. Now kind of working out and see what she can do there. A little off speed. See if she'll chase.
We've seen it time and again. If you leave the ball up in the inner half, you've got a problem.
Yeah, you can't be missing here at this level.
So many different speeds. For whatever reason, it's been very evident this morning.
Well, and it's hard as a hitter to, if you see a changeup, if you're able to read it well, to swing at the right speed. Sometimes a lot of the times we overswing when we see a changeup because we're so excited that the ball's not coming 70 miles an hour at us. We overswing and result in a pop-up, and it's hard to hit a good changeup out of the park. So being able to keep your weight on your back foot, if you're able to read a changeup well, and more or less just poke it in between the infield and the outfield in a gap, is the best way to hit those changeups, those off-speed pitches.
Well, they're staying away, and it pays dividends. Katsumata strikes out Bianca Stelli and Mackenzie Barbara to end the top of the 6th. Japan closing in on a trip to the winner's bracket final tonight at 6 o'clock. They lead Italy 5-1.
So I'm going to say that's not her because she's too
having a fun time right now. Not only looking at the fans, and I'm going to guess that there will be a big crowd for our next game. Beautiful day, as you see on your screen. Supposed to end up in the 27 or 28 degree area before the day is over. So Japan making the most of their 7 hits. They've scored 5 runs. They all came in the bottom of the first. So Christina Tignolo shutting down this lineup until the start. Biancastelli, I knew she was thinking about it as she went in search of fielding that ball, the base hit, off the bat of Wee Nakamizo.
That's a good idea with the arm that Erica Biancastelli has in right field, and that ball's hit so hard to her. That's a great idea. If it's a little faster transition, that's a potential out at first, and that's a great idea.
Again, I want to thank our Japanese friends for pointing out that Reika Utsugi, the head coach, has not been in this event, and she has been in every other event that I've ever watched, coaching at third. But that's longtime star Eri Yamada coaching right now, and has been, and has made all the visits. She was fun to watch, just practicing her own hitting technique, which in watching her did not require a lot of practice.
And that's the thing, it never leaves. Even as a coach, you practice it, you feel it, you time the pitcher. Yamamoto over there, I'm sure, is doing the same thing. I'm up here doing the same thing, thinking of adjustments.
Deep in the hole, and no chance to get Nodoka Harada, who's come into the game, another Olympic gold medalist for Japan. She batted in the spot of Risa Kawamura. So back-to-back hits for Japan to start the 6th. And Kurishi, the catcher, looks to add to the Japanese advantage. You are always asked in this sport, are you not, to bunt strikes.
Bunt strikes.
How many times do you think you've heard that from your coaches over the years?
I can't even guess. I mean, it's probably the most heard thing, and obviously a bunting situation, but it's hard enough to bunt off these type of pitchers. Again, like we've been said, the way the ball moves. And
I found Utsugi. That's her. I'm almost certain under that tent, because I just noticed her giving some signs to Yamada. However, we'll have to double and triple check that. Not always easy to tell, as a slap type bunt attempt from catcher Yume Kurishi.
I wonder how long she'll coach for. I mean, she can coach forever, but I think building a great culture in teams and beliefs, and talking with a lot of the Canada softball team and the young Australian teams, providing a good culture starts with the staff, and that's why you see a lot of these athletes move into the staff, and it's all about creating pride and what you believe in to represent a country. So no one better than the three Japanese coaches we're seeing right now.
Full count as Tignolo, who's gone the whole way for Italy. Nobody currently up right now. On the ground, it'll be foul as Longy tracks it in foul territory, but needless to say, cannot make a play on that ground ball. Japan has given up 4 runs now in total in the tournament. In the gap. And it will roll to the fence. 2 runs are going to score. And catcher Yume Karishi, a 2-run double, and then advance to third on the throw home. And Japan expands their advantage to 7-1. And this is what they do. Been a lot of games in that 3-0 neighborhood, and then eventually in the 5th or 6th, because I'm not sure they've played 7. They have not played a 7-inning game here at Softball City.
I was just thinking that getting into the 6th inning is well done against Japan, and then Canada, even TC Colorado. I mean, being able to go 6 innings, especially for Christina, doing that is something to be proud of. Honestly, I know people are like, oh, well, look at the scoreboard, but, you know, it's Japan, and when they get going, and then they start to score and score and score and score. So 6 innings against Japan is very well done.
Well, Tignolo did a very nice job.
Number 5.
But we've talked about how opportunistic they are with runners in scoring position. All you have to do is look at the board as we watch Alexia Lakatina come in. She had a rough outing last night, did not make it through the first against Mexico in a thrilling 7-6 come from behind win to earn them a top 4 spot after the round robin. Japan has 7 runs on 10 hits. They led Canada 3-1 going to the 6th and were being out-hit 7-5. Canada stranded 8 base runners. They don't seem to strand very many. When they get people, and I am going to track this down if it's possible, I want to know what their numbers are this week with runners in scoring position, and hope to have that number for you tonight when they play in the 6 o'clock winners bracket final against the winner of Canada and Triple Crown Colorado. That's the next game on the docket here on playoff Saturday at the Canada Cup of softball.
Yeah, they do well getting runners on and then scoring them, and that's discipline. A lot of the hits that Japan has had, today have been these gappers in front of the outfielders, and that is discipline. Can they take these pitchers out of the park? Probably. But when you have runners on, the most important thing, and that's being a team player, is not over swinging and trying to hit a home run. It's advancing 60 feet out of time, and they do that very well. They place the ball very well, and they don't overswing, resulting in runs and runners advancing. And that's, again, going with the discipline and repetition and the practice that Team Japan is known for. It's just how they work. And
Ayani Nakagawa, the star center fielder, draws a walk. And important to note, with no one out and a runner 60 feet away, is the energetic Mio Gato, who might have as much energy as any player you'll ever find. The sensational 22-year-old star pitcher raced out, changed up the running helmet, and we know she's on her way. Gasparotto from her knees Marta Gasparotto has a very strong arm. That was evident earlier when she was playing shortstop. Solis, a very strong arm at short for Mexico. So 60 feet away are the Japanese from guaranteeing that the 7th inning is not going to be required in a game that they play so far. It is a 7-run rule after 5. So they can end it right here, and they have 3 chances to do it. There is no one out for Kyoko Ishikawa, who has reached twice on an error today. She has been the benefactor of both Italian errors in the game. Canada and Triple Crown Colorado. Vigna, and she let it go.
Smart play. Although you are down by 6, but with the runner being able to advance.
It's absolutely the right thing to do. You give yourself every chance you can to win the game, and the game would have been over if she fields that as a left-handed outfielder running away, having to pivot and try and throw out a speedy runner who would have tagged. If you're right-handed there and you circle around the ball, maybe you think a little differently about coming home with it. But Vigna would have been throwing off balance to give herself any chance to make a play at home. And it's headed her way again.
She has a great arm, no doubt, but I laugh just from playing with her. She's sometimes not the most coordinated or quickest athlete when it comes to having to really flip around to throw a ball. So that
was terrifying. Ball from one of the other diamonds. Vigna has to play this one. And this game is over. The sacrifice run batted in off the bat of Kyoko Ishikawa. And Japan beats Team Italy to open the winner's bracket top 4 playoffs. And they'll advance to the winner's bracket final tonight at 6 o'clock, where they will have a date with either Canada or Triple Crown Colorado, who will meet for the second time in about 45 minutes. The final score, Japan 8, Italy 1. Thanks for joining us. Hope you'll tune in again in less than an hour for a rematch, one that the host country will be very engaged in. We'll explain that a little later. For Amanda, I'm Peter. So long for now.
Here's the technology break. I just want to point out on TC Colorado's lineup, those are subs.
Yes. Thank you kindly.
Just to make sure, because
Yeah, they have so many that.
Welcome to Mont Hill Golf and Country Club.
For the latest in softball innovation, the website where you can experience the best tournaments in the Americas. Live games, news, tournaments, and much, much more. The best quality live softball, on demand so you can watch when you want. Become a Premier member now. SoftballPremierTV.com. Live it on Softball Premier.